For the record, this is a special meeting of the Board of Trustees of East Windsor County's Pension Fund. Today is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. We are located in the City Hall auditorium and participating in this evening's meeting, everybody in person. We have Commissioner Spino, Commissioner McElroy, Commissioner Cogswell, Commissioner McLeod, Commissioner Mattel, and representing the fire department, Ed Delisle and Tom Sterling. Before we begin the meeting, could we all please stand and pledge the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. So this being a special meeting, only those items that are on the agenda will be entertained in the discussion this evening. Item number 1 is I will entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to section CGS, section 1-200, subsection 6, subsection B, regarding pending claim litigation, Lori Pepler, surviving spouse of Christopher Pepler of the estate of Christopher Pepler versus the city of Torrington. In that motion, I would ask that we include and invite into the executive session Attorney Mike Rose and Attorney Jamie Lemaire. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner McLeod, second by Commissioner Cogswell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll do executive session in a moment. Okay. Right, for the record, it is now 6:58 p.m. I will entertain a motion to go back into open session. So, thank you, Commissioner Battle, Commissioner McLeod. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 3, do I have a motion from the floor?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the terms of settlement proposed by Attorney Rose to settle the claims under litigation between the estate of Christopher Pepler and the city of Torrington, contingent upon approval by Carmel.
Thank you. Motion made by Mr. Sterling. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I heard 2 seconds. Which is Mr. Delisle. Yes. So I have a motion made by Board of Trustee member Sterling, seconded by Board of Trustee member Delisle. Do any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries. There being no further business before the board this evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So, thank you, Commissioner Spino, seconded by Commissioner Cogswell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all very much. Okay, Commissioner McLeod did have to step away just for a moment, but we still have a quorum, so I'm going to move right into the regular meeting of the Board of Safety. So, for the record, it is now 7 p.m. and I will call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Public Safety. Again, date is March 1st, 2023, and we can open this meeting with item number 1. I will entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public from members of the public attending in person only.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Hudson. Second by Commissioner McElroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open to members of the public for comment.
May I approach?
Yes. Microphone. Right
I
there.
just have something to hand you guys.
Should be in. If you could give it to the city clerk and then
Sure,
she can hand it down.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Want to hand it up to the board? Is that what you said?
Members of the public, Mayor Carbone, members of the Board of Public Safety, Police Chief Baldwin, Fire Chief Borden, the management that's here from the city tonight. I missed anybody? Sorry. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jay Peters, longstanding resident, business owner, and taxpayer within the city of Torrington. Formerly, I was a police officer at the City of Torrington Police Department, held administrative titles of sergeant and acting lieutenant. My law enforcement experience dates back to 1992, and I have an extensive resume in patrol operations training and our special response team. I also served as a sergeant in the administration. On May 23rd, 2020, I was involved in a use of force incident that was called into question by Chief Baldwin. On June 17th, 2020, I was placed on administrative leave, at which time the matter was investigated by the Connecticut State Police Major Crime Division and reviewed by the State's Attorney's Office. Both concluded that probable cause did not exist for my arrest. On November 10th, 2020, I returned to work and met with Chief Baldwin and Deputy Chief Bernal, Captain at the time, I believe, which time I was notified that I'd be the subject of an administrative investigation by Attorney Daigle of the Daigle Law Group, Eric Daigle. This investigation contains evidence that supports my position of doing nothing wrong. However, Attorney Daigle reported that I was in violation of department policy. On April 9th of 2021, Chief Baldwin informed me that once again I was being placed on administrative leave, this time for department policy violations. On May 6th of 2021, we met with Chief Baldwin and explained in detail how I followed the policies and procedures of the Torrington Police Department. I believe that meeting lasted about an hour and a half. May 11th, 2021, Chief Baldwin terminated my employment with the department. On May 12th, 2021, Chief Baldwin entered into a press conference about my termination, reported that I violated department policy. I responded to the media by stating that I had not and explained my position. If you can recall the video from 2021, it's still out there, it's on YouTube. Anybody can see what I said. Shortly thereafter, we entered into arbitration at the State Board of Mediation and Arbitration. On February 24th of this year, 2023, Board of Mediation and Arbitration determined that I had not been terminated for just cause. Specifically, the board concluded Sergeant Peters was not terminated for just cause and shall be reinstated as a sergeant at the Torrington Police Department with full back pay, plus any earnings or unemployment funds that he received. There shall be no breaking of seniority. He shall further be reimbursed for any medical insurance that he paid out of pocket for any coverage previously paid by the city of Torrington. There should be no award of attorney's fees. In their ruling, the board attached copies of the Torrington Police Department general orders that I followed and are specific to this event in question. The board did not find that I violated any of the Torrington Police Department general orders. February 27th, Officer Busby delivered a letter to my residence from Chief Baldwin indicating the labor board decision is being appealed and I'm not to return to work. In today's Republican American, Chief Baldwin is quoted as saying, at the time and severity of the violation warranted Peters' firing. With regard to the statement, I'm confused. Throughout this entire process, the evidence, statements, and testimony support the fact that I followed the policies and procedures of the Torrington Police Department. To summarize where we currently are, the state police, state's attorney, and now state labor have all concluded that I've done nothing wrong. There isn't a victim or injury, there isn't a victim or an injury in this matter, and yet I'm not reinstated, which I do not understand. I ask that the city's administration further review this matter, as I do not understand how we have arrived at this juncture in city history. Do any of you have any questions for me?
Would public comment in a meeting like this? There's no exchange.
All right, thank you for your time.
All right, we're still open to the public for public comment.
Commissioner, Mayor, Commission members, my name is Charles Allen, the 10-year union president for the Eastern Memory Resident Troopers Office with 35 years of law enforcement experience. As elected officials, the people in the crowd are expecting you to go back and represent the taxpayers of Torrington. The Torrington Police Department is desperately in need of personnel to work the streets. It's my understanding now that supervisors are taking calls. I watched everyone get up and pledge to the legions, asking for justice for all. What we're asking is when, after being probably the most scrutinized police officer in your agency, by both the state police, the attorney's office, and now the labor board, at what point will there be justice for Jay? Thank you.
And just state your name.
I am Jerry Peters, Jay's dad. Just like to talk to you for a minute about use of force. Excuse me. Up until November of last year, I was still post-certified use of force shooting decisions and firearms, of course. Okay, since my retirement back in late 2005, I spent a little over 35 years in law enforcement, working courtroom security, police department, also the U.S. Marshal Service. Okay, here's my point. I travel around Winstead, Torrington. I go to other cities also, and I talk to a lot of police officers all over, okay? And their biggest concern now with the use of force is this: am I going to get in trouble if I use force? Am I going to be suspended, fired, demoted, arrested? Okay, and what does that do? That puts them in more danger. That's what that does to them, because they're hesitant. And it only takes a fraction of a second for somebody to do something to you. I know what I'm talking about. I was involved in a shooting when somebody was shooting at me. And I took a little bit of time, thank God was with me, and I was able to stop it. Police officers all over, and in Torrington too. They're concerned about their safety. If I do something and somebody doesn't agree with it, do I go through what Jay goes through? It's not fair to them. I'm not saying you want somebody to just go out there and do whatever they want at any time. If somebody does something wrong, real bad, you deal with it. Is it a training issue? Did he make a mistake? Was it intentional? You look at it for what it is. What were the circumstances? Okay, that's the message that's being sent to the police officers, not just here in Torrington, all over. It's being sent. And I talk to a lot of guys, state and local guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. We are still open for public comment.
Members of the Commission, my name is Kevin Jones. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm a retired assistant chief in the city of Hartford. I've been in law enforcement for approximately 40 years. I'm familiar with the case and the investigation that was completed and the disposition of the labor board as it was just returned. I've known Jay Peters for over 20 years. I've known his father and I've known his family. I've always known Jay Peters to be a very principled person, good character. I've known him to be a professional police officer, supervisor, and trainer. I know that Mr. Peters has stepped up as a police officer and as a supervisor. And I know that he would put himself in harm's way for anybody in this room. He would stand up for anybody in this room and actually put his life on the line. That night in the booking, he also stood up. He was a supervisor, lieutenant in charge, acting lieutenant in charge. He could have stayed in his office and sent his sergeants out to handle what was going on in the booking and say, let me know how it comes out. But he was charged with the responsibility of not only the citizens of Torrington that night, but also the police officers under his command. And he took it upon himself to go out there and put himself personally at risk to handle the situation, which he did. So I think that Jay Peters has stood up to the town of Torrington, both as a citizen, as a business person, and as a police officer, as a trainer, and a supervisor. I think that now it's time that the Commissioner of Torrington and the citizens of Torrington stand up to Jay Peters and recognize what he has done for the town. Thank you very much.
Still open to the public if that makes sense, somebody else approaching.
Hello, board, mayor. My name is John Carboni, a resident of Torrington. In and out a few times, but through most of my life, I resided in Torrington. Love Torrington, it's a great town to grow up with. And always had respect for all the officers involved. I was younger for a while, I was enlisted. I had the distinct pleasure of knowing Jerry's father, Jay's father, Jerry. I have no background in any law enforcement, quite the contrary, I've been on the other side a few times. But I know when you see a good guy that has honor and integrity, and that falls in your family all the way through. One is I'd like to know approximately what we spent on this witch hunt, crucifying a gentleman who loves being an officer, has always been in law enforcement, it's in his blood, and here we are trying to throw him out to the wolves. And what kind of message does this send to other officers when they approach certain situations, knowing that might be a good possibility that your own superiors, your own management might throw that at the bus and do the same thing. Here that you're looking for officers, you're missing quite a few. I'm wondering if a lot of them don't like the way the direction is going, they're getting out, they're maybe losing faith in the organization. I think we need to stand behind Jay. He's a decent person. And how many times do you have to hear no from investigations, from the labor board before you finally stand up and say, we made a mistake and we're sorry? It takes a big man to do that. So we're waiting to hear it. Thank you.
Board members, Mayor, my name is Robert Millett. I'm a taxpayer here in Connecticut. I've known Jay quite a few years, and I'd really like to see him back on the force on Monday. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes.
I knew I was going to address everybody here. I would address Brooke, but I came directly from work. My name is Tad Rowan, and my first house was bought here in Torrington back in the late 70s with the help of Joe Delramino, for any people who remember, the president of Torrington Savings Bank, because I had no credit at 21 years old, but I had some money in the bank. He gave me a mortgage. So Torrington's near and dear to my heart. My wife was born and raised in Torrington, still married. We've come up to 40 years together. I was talking to Chief Alden earlier in May. The bottom line is this. I've looked at that video a few times. I've been in law enforcement, spent 28 years of my life. From there, I went to the corporate safety world. We talk about use of force all the time in that corporate safety world. I worked for a $60 billion a year company for 10 years after I retired, traveling throughout the United States, Puerto Rico, and other ports of call. The bottom line is there's something we trained about, and we protected our people about it because it was so severe. And when I looked at this video the first time, Bill, you know I love you. Been around you for over 30 years, okay? The bottom line is there's something that nobody's bringing up here. And it's a real concern. And it's more than just officer safety, it's your safety. We just went through this huge pandemic. Okay, they didn't know how it was transmitted or anything else. But if I view this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it appeared this gentleman was spitting at these police officers. And if you're spitting at a police officer and you have some type of disease, that's a bloodborne pathogen that can enter your body in any way, shape, or form through a mucous membrane or something like that. That can be considered the use of deadly physical force. I've been involved in some pretty nasty things. Billy can attest to that. As can other people. I work with James Family on the midnight shift. All right. But when you spit on somebody and you have a disease or you have something that can be transmitted to another human and you're sick or ill, that can be considered the use of deadly physical force against another human being. And honestly, I watched those guys in that cell a couple of times. I reviewed it again today, knowing I was going to come here tonight. And I honestly believe there was a lot of restraint used in there. And I applaud Jay, I applaud Torrington PD, all great guys, and a lot of them, talking with the firemen back there, and a lot of those guys, and a lot of people in this room. And I'm proud to be part of this community. So thank you very much for your time. I just needed to say it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We are still on the public comment.
My name is Doug Minio. I have a business here in town. I'm a retired Waterbury police officer. And my biggest concern is the safety of my business, the safety of my son, my sister, my wife that works in that business. We're a federal firearms dealer and we all carry a gun every day. If we continue to not support our police, guys are getting out every day. Every cop I talk to, especially Connecticut law enforcement, after the accountability bill that went through, we're not supporting our police. How do we expect them to support us? As a city, you want it to be a safe city. That thin blue line is real. Jay didn't do it. He did everything he could on combatant. We have to support cops. If we don't, we're going to end up with mayhem in the state. Cops are leaving Connecticut because we don't do it after they get the accountability bill. As a whole, to support law enforcement, that thin blue line is real, and it's between the bad guys, which is not sitting in this room today. Or these are the good guys. It's my point. Thank you.
Additional comments? That was not something inside the one.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Davella. I'm a federal 07 firearms licensee and a small business owner. I've been doing business with Jay for several years now, and he's always been nothing but upstanding and professional. When this first happened, where he was being terminated, he called me as upset as can be. That's not really something you see from someone who, I'm going to say, is, you know, he's actually very passionate about his job. Not someone who's violent, never been aggressive, nothing that was kind of how he was portrayed in the news media. Not at all. He's always gone out of his way to take care of me, my family, friends. I think he's valuable as a police officer. He's got over 30 years experience. I don't see any reason why not to instate him. He could be beneficial to future recruits. I think the whole situation may have been blown out of proportion. Mistakes were made. But personally, I feel reinstating him would be the best for the town, for the state, and for all his coworkers, potential new coworkers, and old coworkers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. As most of you know, I've been a police officer here for 30 years. I'm retired now, but I worked with Jay a long time before he got on and during his career here. And I always found him to be an upstanding, really by the book kind of guy. And I'm not going to reiterate all the facts and the details people said, but the city chose a route that they chose. And being a union president for a lot of years in my career, probably 20 years, I know what the expense is for this type of investigation, this ongoing, you know, arbitration hearing, and the future litigation that's going to be coming up. And I think as elected officials, you're to be fiscally responsible with our money. And I think appealing this and dragging it on more and paying attorney fees and all these other things we're going to have to pay is not being fiscally responsible. I think you chose a path to go down, just as everybody involved in this chose a path. And I think we need to put this to bed as quick as we can and as the best resolution for the taxpayers and for the people involved. As I said, Jay has always been a great officer, and I worked with him a lot of years. I was a supervisor for a lot of years, and I watched the video. I won't get into all what I think about it, but I think it was an overreaction. It could be because of the climate at the time, but we really need to think about where taxpayers' money is going to be going in the future. Because if it does get appealed, it's not going to be rehearing the facts. It's just going to be seeing if the process was followed. And I don't see how the process wasn't followed. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Excuse me, comments. Still open to the public comment. All right, seeing no further comments, we'll move into item number 2 on our agenda. I will entertain a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes on February 1st, 2023 meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Pritchett.
Second.
Second, Commissioner McLeod. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention, Commissioner Spino. Item 3, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special meeting minutes of February 21, 2023. So, Commissioner Bell, second by Commissioner Crutchwell. Questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, I actually, what I would need, and this is a requisite because we're adding to our agenda. I need a 2/3 vote, affirmative vote, to add section B to the agenda. Section D would be a motion to go into executive session. I don't anticipate any vote concerning this litigation, but do I have a motion to add section B?
So.
Thank you, Commissioner Cutwell, second by Commissioner McElroy. I'm sorry. In that motion,
This is just.
to add it, thank you. All right, so I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Cutwell. Item 5, entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to CGS section 1-200, subsection 6, subsection B regarding pending litigation, Gerald Pierce versus City of Torrington, case number 2021A0330. With that, I would ask that we invite Attorney Rose and Attorney Romero and Chief Baldwin and Deputy Chief Brown. Motion. Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner McLaren, second by Commissioner McElroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go back to the agenda. Okay, for the record, this is now 8:03 p.m. I will need a motion to come back into open session. So move.
Second.
Commissioner Reynolds, second by Commissioner Creswell, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are back in open session. There being no required action under this section B, we will move right into item 8, and I will entertain a motion to accept Officer Alexander Zambetti, Officer Alexander Hubbard, and Officer Thomas Buzzy as regular members of the Torrington Police Department after successfully completing their probationary period on February 20, 2022.
So.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner McClellan, Commissioner Spino. Questions or comments? Anything from the chief?
Everything.
Okay. All right, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, I'll entertain a motion to accept Police Chief Walker's report for January 2023.
So.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hunter. Questions on the report? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, I'll entertain a motion to accept Fire Chief Borden's report for January 2023.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Cotton. Second by Commissioner Battle. Questions or comments on the report? Seeing hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, I want to do a motion to accept the EMS provider activity report for January 2023.
Second.
Commissioner Kilroy, second by Commissioner Cotton. Questions on the report? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by the volunteer fire departments.
So second.
Commissioner Steele, second by Commissioner McLeod. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is on 24. Yeah, there he is. Anything to add this evening? Okay. And usually during the all right, we'll move into item 13. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by departments.
So moved.
These are Commissioner and second by Commissioner Steele. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything to add this evening? Chief, Deputy Chief? Chief. Gordon? Deputy Chief? Anything coming to contribute this evening? All right, we'll move into item 14. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by the mayor and members of the board of public safety. Thank you, Commissioner Conroy, seconded by Commissioner Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll start from my right. Commissioner Spino, anything this evening? Commissioner Miller? Commissioner Hassel? Commissioner?
Thank you.
And Commissioner Hamilton. All right, there being no further business before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So, thank you, Commissioner Spino, seconded by Commissioner Conroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.